squeakers, welcome to Talking Ad Nauseam, more of Talking Ad Nauseam. Welcome, 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 welcome. I am very in a weird mood. I'm sleep deprived, I think. I don't know, I've been up for a while. I'm like super loopy doopy, dizzy wizzy, you know, like I'm all over the place. But I think that's the perfect mood for some fucking ad nauseam. I'm so excited. So yeah, I hope you're doing good, and if you're not, you're about to do good, because it's fucking talking ad nauseam time, okay? We're gonna explore Dignity, Grand Atrium, and maybe even see the Sterlie Tower, which many believe is a, you know, a penis. And we're gonna talk about that, I guess. That's why we're talking about penis in the first 10 seconds of the video. So, you can click on Jicca here. She's serious, the boss, one and only retainer. I mentioned this last time, but here's something interesting that I didn't mention. Jicca, you say, what a fun name when you click on her. That's interesting. That implies Jicca has a weird name, maybe, or maybe it's saying that Jicca is a fun name, which it is a fun name to say. Try saying it right now with me, viewer. Jicca, 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 Jicca. That's pretty fun. You know, that's an 8 out of 10 in the fun scale, I think. We got a whole lot of clickables. We're gonna spend a lot of time here. It's gonna be an absolute blast. What should we start with? Let's talk to Jicca. Oh, here we go. I was speaking to Jicca and then I said never mind, and she gave me the same option twice, okay? She said don't waste time, don't waste time. But now it's Jicca turns to face you, holding a hand against her right eye. So her right eye is suspicious. Please write this down. You know what? I'm gonna fucking write it down right now. I had no idea this was a line. Did anyone know about this? Is this random, or do you actually have to double, triple click on her? Is your eye okay? It's nothing new. Actually, wait, I think someone did talk about this. Maybe this was, I think Sid mentioned this? It's nothing new. What did you need? So Jicca has a problem, or condition, or something that causes her to cover her eye. And it's not new. She's been dealing with this for a while. That's interesting. We know she's been staring at us, and it's been described that she can see something through us, okay? Oh, that's a cute line. I didn't know you could fuck around with Jicca, or fuck Jicca. I mean, fuck with Jicca. Like, if you keep messing with her, like you can with Yuffie and Elena, it's kind of a running gag at this point. She's like, are you serious? Like, are you pulling my tails? Her little, you know, twin tails? Are these twin tails, pigtails? Something else kind of tails? I don't know. But that's cute. So it seems like she has a random selection of things she can say when you click on her, which is cool. Let's ask Jicca a question about what happened last night. Because what happened, Jicca? Did you perhaps fall down the stairs? Boom. Insert Jicca splattered on the screen. So Jicca went to strike a deal with Marmina. We know about Marmina. She is a liability who can't be scotched, which is very alarming. And apparently Marmina has been going around doing things recently. The last few months, Marmina has been causing major issues. And Jicca is actually trying to bargain with Marmina, which is usually not something Jicca does. You know, being zero tolerance with liabilities. So she says that Marmina can't be scotched, which, you know, I don't know if that's exactly true, because now Jicca's saying for some reason nothing I've tried has worked on her. So there's some kind of gimmick, I bet, to Marmina. I don't think her lucid gift is just, you know, Marmina equals unscotchable and that's it. Maybe there's some kind of coping mechanism or gimmick or something like that that Marmina does, you know, maybe like super fast regeneration or who knows, right? Convinced Marmina to move to Magnaceuticals, which is outside Sanatoria, and Sterlie would ignore her, so maybe get her away from, you know, people who are living in the protected land of law, Sanatoria, you know, which is better than current situation. But you know, we might go to Magnaceuticals to visit Leida, so this might be something that comes up. So Marmina is like unmovable. She's the indestructible object. But she's not really dangerous. Her lucid gift has nothing to do with offense, to our knowledge. So yeah, she can't fight against Jicca at all. And I imagine Jicca tried brute force, like just torturing the girl or heavily injuring her. We know Jicca is an immensely powerful killer, the best in the entire world, it seems. She's got a 20 on her score, for killing, elimination, for damage. So maybe Marmina can't feel pain, or perhaps she doesn't give a shit about pain. You know, she doesn't give up. So Jicca was going up an escalator, okay? They met somewhere that was at the bottom or midway down a lot of escalators, okay? And then a mysterious person showed up. A woman with black hair, vermilion eyes, and the shape of a tooth. But the tooth is interesting, I imagine human teeth. Her name is Taika. She's been stalking me for quite some time. So, was Taika stalking Jicca? Or does Marmina and Taika have a deal, perhaps, right? Because since Marmina can't be defeated, but also can't really do any damage, maybe she paired up with someone like Taika, who is very dangerous. And there's no risk in asking Taika, because Marmina can't die, or can't be scotched. So Jicca was caught by surprise and fell down many escalator fights. Awful to think about, but the others at Sterlie might not be equipped to handle someone with a lucid gift like hers. So apparently, Taika has some overpowered ass ability. So we should all be quaking in our cute little boots, okay? So Tsurine brings up, how are you not totally, you know, obliterated? You, like, got completely, you fell down multiple flights. And Jicca hesitates. Tsurine hesitates. Jicca does not answer the question. She instead says, don't tell anyone about what I just told you. So it's really nice that Jicca is at least telling us some of these secrets, but she is also not telling us how she got resurrected or reconstructed. Maybe it was full body replacement theory. And Jicca's taking on the responsibility for herself. She's like, I will deal with Taika once I recover. You know, but it seems like Jicca might need to ask for help from someone. Jicca says, I never lose the same fight twice, which is very badass. Very hot. What? Why did I, yeah, just keep that in mind. Hopefully this is true. I believe Jicca, but maybe the rug will be pulled from us. So Taika has a 1 in her name, which I believe means she's the only Taika, not Salasansa Taika, because Salasansa's added on to her name, I believe. So high functioning, I believe, is referring to her liability status, right? Because being a liability, a normal liability, basically means you're constantly unstable and you're at the most mental low point basically possible, which makes it hard to function at a high level, right? Mentally, because you're constantly stressed the fuck out. But she, however, can function highly. Or this is saying that, you know, whether or not she's lucidating or whatever, she's just incredibly smart. But she's also gifted, so it seems like it's trying to say that she's really good at dealing with, you know, her psychosia. She's really gifted and smart, and she's disgustingly immoral. She's vile. Very few people fucked... Oh my god. Sorry, I don't know why. That was a bad fumble. Freudian slip, I guess. Very few people in this world as fucked in the head as her. Or, if you're feeling a little festive, there's few people in the world as jolly as her. And yeah, Jicca doesn't swear, so she's being extraordinarily intense and serious right now, so we have to be careful. You know, I've often wondered if there is a villain of Adna, like, what will it be? Well, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be someone we know, and so far I can only think of is Taika, and Sindine, obviously. So I'm very curious to see how that pans out. I should take the time to mention that Jicca often calls us our pupil, and I will say pupil is another word, it's for an eyeball. And she knows where we are when she calls us or texts us in the hospital and says door on the left. So, yeah, maybe it's either just a cute detail, but maybe it's something more. Maybe we literally are one of her eyes and she can see through us. Tsurine hitting her with the yes ma'am. What a good dog. Now, Jicca's saying that knowing what Taika's gift is dangerous or harmful. Very interesting. So, Jicca investigating and gaining information about Taika is the source of this conflict of what happened to Jicca. So Jicca probably figured out more about Taika's gift or something, this knowledge that shouldn't be shared, and therefore Taika made a move. So Salisansa isn't a name, it's a title. And we don't really know what it means, so that's interesting. And again, she says you don't want to know. It's gotta be something awful. It is, to me, very obviously Libricod or Liberch. So it seems like the people of Libricod gave Taika this name, so Taika might be quite old. And, you know, Libricod is mentioned as being old and not really being around anymore. So the only thing I can really think of is Taika made some kind of mass binning or mass killing or genocide of Libricod, which is worrisome. That's a very, you know, that could be true, could be not be true, but yeah, who knows. So Yuffie called out, and Ferrith is upset about that, which is very interesting. I mean, it's not that interesting, but it's good to note down that Ferrith is, you know, harsh on Yuffie. And Jicca doesn't give a shit. That's why Jicca's cool. She's the cool boss. And Jicca also doesn't seem to really like Ferrith. She doesn't care how Ferrith feels, and this comes up again later where Jicca and Ferrith, you know, are kind of at odds, even in a USB too. So Yuffie's contract, which this is crazy, you know, kind of like how Tsurine has an exemption. Yuffie has like an exemption of working when Rivian's in the house, which is super, you know, that's how intense it is that it's actually recognized by Sterlie itself as being, you know, like, oh, you know, it's too much for you, got it. And Yuffie does remote work. We don't really know what you can do remotely to help Sterlie, probably paperwork and stuff. Which means Yuffie did not tell us about this. So that was maybe an omission of a truth to maybe, you know, she doesn't like talking about Rivian, or maybe she had no idea Rivian was coming in until today. Tsurine seems excited to talk about Manowar. That's correct, Manowar has been mentioned. Everyone rejoice, all the Manowar fans. Please rejoice, I am a Manowar fan. I know there's plenty. Yeah. Including, of course, I gotta shout out Aradia, #1 Manowar fan, self-proclaimed. I don't know why I can't fucking speak today. I keep saying Manowar fan. So we have the fifth finger coming up thing coming up. God, I can't speak today. Which is interesting. So Jicca goes on to talk about how Holocene is basically like a total flirt, and to be careful. Makes me wonder if, one, there was ever drama where Holocene like fucking seduced someone, and it caused some kind of like, you know, workplace romance that turned into drama. Or I wonder if Holocene went after Jicca. That's kind of it's a really good fanfic idea for you writers out there. Maybe me, go for it. You know, like Jicca being really annoyed at Holocene's relentless flirting and seduction. Hey, if anything, Tsurina's overly mindful, which, hey, that is the one of the humors. Also, Jicca said she trusts us, which is good to have established. So, of course, iconic dialogue, we say that we like pushy women, and Jicca's like, uh-huh, is that so? She seems interested. And in her own dorky way, she's like, well, this is an order from your pushy boss. Don't get roped in. Jicca hit us with the Atta Girl. The Adna Puppy Girl fans are winning today. So, what have you been up to, Jicca? She says work, and Tsurine's like, well, what else have you been up to? She hesitates. Maybe she's been doing something she can't really talk about. Or maybe she's hesitating opening up to us, but she opens up regardless. She did go see a light show over Saline Wake, which is the largest pool in all of Sanatoria. So, interesting, Tsurine says she always wanted to go to Saline Wake, but never got to. And Jicca says, I'm aware. Which is odd. Tsurine doesn't mention that, but why does Jicca know this information? Maybe Tsurine talks about it a lot. I could totally see that. Or maybe this is some kind of Jicca fucking stalker theory going on here. Again, Jicca's mentioning how she feels like she's too much of a drag, right? Especially on the clock. Maybe that's an insecurity of hers, you know, having to be so authoritative and unfriendly, cold. Jicca apologized to us. That's very respectable. So yeah, we'll ask Jicca to invite us. She hesitates and it's a little awkward. And it's like, oh, well, you should invite a friend because, you know, she's afraid it's going to look like a date. I didn't know this. If you don't flirt with Jicca, she says, don't start mixing fun time with work time, which is cute because on the other route, she says, don't mix, like, love and work. And when we call Jicca our friend, she's surprised. You know, maybe she didn't realize she was actually we considered her a friend. I think this is again with Jicca's supposed or theoretical, you know, insecurity about being a little too, you know, bossy. This is a lovely detail when we flirt with Jicca and we're like, hey, it wouldn't be a problem if we went on a date, right? And Jicca ... we ... with a blush in anticipation. And then Jicca puts her hand on the back of her neck and like flails out her hair in like a wonderful, glorious little hair flip, which is like so extra and like, huh, I'm hot shit, you know? And then she says, no, of course it isn't a problem. Like that's her kind of showing off. And like, I think that's really cute and endearing because she like purposefully did that to her hair to be kind of cute and flirty here. And then she says, good Tsurine. Like she's treating us like a dog. Jicca's treating you like a dog. Can you believe this? So when we ask Jicca if she can fix her phone, she says, yes, I can. I'll do it at Sterlie. Tsurine's like, awesome, you're the best. And then Jicca runs a hand through her hair once again. Is it so? She's so extra. Whenever she gets like complimented or flirted with, she kind of does this like cute hair thing. I don't know, it's really cute. So Jicca lives in Grand Atrium. That's good to know. I wonder if she lives in Sterlie Tower. She doesn't say that. I mean, that's what I would have assumed because she's like the retainer. But yeah, if she has a little place to go to, I would love to go there with her. Tsurine mentions that she hates spending money. I wonder if that means anything. Is that, like, what does that mean? Like, maybe she's just really frugal, or there's something more to it? I forgot that I named the Killipede Languid. So Jicca's like, what did you just call me? I'm sorry, I don't know why I named it that, Jicca. I'm not calling you languid. You are the very opposite of that. So Jicca's very surprised that we're keeping a Killipede as a pet. Tsurine's like, I heard they got really big. And Jicca, apparently there's odd Killipedes as well as normal Killipedes, which means that our Killipede might be an oddity, or an odd one. That would be awesome. I hope so. So there's one specific Killipede that's infamous in Fecundali, and it eats people. You are blind to the demon of Sterlie, baptize or behold doom. So what the hell does baptize mean in Sanatoria, you know? And who's the demon of Sterlie? Let's see, demon of Sterlie, that's not just any Church of Mary, it's the Hematics denomination of Mary, so a specific Church of Mary. I believe it's the Church of Bloody Mary. Yes. And Hematics sounds like hemo, like blood, right? Yes, hematic is a dated word that means relating to blood. So, if, like, a hematic cyst would be a blood cyst. Okay. So the Church of Bloody Mary apparently has a total bin brain for a head priest. So we know certain denominations have head priests, and jicca hesitates. A rather indulgent white idiopath at the helm. So it's cool that idiopathy and religion can mix, or does mix. They seem like different things, right? It's not like, I'm sure maybe there's a denomination of religion in Anna where they don't like idiopathy or something, like it's witchcraft. But no, here they have a indulgent white idiopath, which is interesting. I know we just saw the sign that was talking about the killipedes eating people, but I don't know why this is making me think of the frigid complex girl who Tashka maybe, who's like a cannibal and eats people, and is some kind of leader of a cult. So the Church of Bloody Mary believes that the whole thing with Sterlie never existed, and basically people got together and created all this religion. Therefore, Sterlie Tower could be like legitimized as a governing force and everything. You know, they can have authority over people and deal with liabilities, but you know, this church thinks people made that up, not instead of a actual, you know, Saint Sterlie existed. I'm curious what Jicca believes, because I feel like Jicca probably has the most information at anyone, because she talks to Providence. And these people actually don't follow the laws of Sanatoria, and they default to some old scriptures called the Harmonica, which again, hemo is blood, so some kind of blood book they follow. I wonder where this came from. If it's old, and we know Jicca's old, so this might be from the Dark Ages. And again, we have Tsurine's like complete issue with religion, where it's almost like irrational. Like, well, don't get me wrong. You know, like, it seems like Jicca Tsurine has a really hard time not letting her, you know, discontent with religion be known. Jicca says she never forgets things, which is interesting. I'll keep that in mind. Alright, several rooms in this hall have been blanched by the fray. That's a word we've never really seen before. Okay, I did some research. So blanching is normally or mostly known as a food technique where you boil vegetables for a little bit and then you immediately put them in ice water, which is like a temperature shock, and it stops the cooking and it kind of like preserves them. But then there's also medical blanching, or like a blanching of the skin, which is a whitening of the skin that occurs under gentle pressure caused by vasoconstriction, which is in your blood vessels when they narrow, reduces and blocks blood flow because your walls of your blood vessels tighten, it seems. So yeah, that is more medical, and that seems to be what this fray shit is. Like, it's white at the tips. So I imagine this is the blanching. It's where like this kind of growth turns white. It turns things white. So maybe after like a while, this whole room would just be like white and gooey, like moving like this. We can see like a whole bunch of like shit going on. Like the door over here is all crumpled, almost. And there's like a growth coming out of it. And you can see up here like the color is like gradient into white. So it's like blanching the environment. And if we take the medical definition, that would basically be narrowing the blood vessels. But no, the environment doesn't have blood vessels, so it would be something else. Narrowing like the color or I don't know. But Frey seems to be very bizarre. We'll hear more about it, that like it can ego death people, ego kill them. I wonder if it's like considered an oddity or something else. Or is it some kind of virus? Like a bacteria, like is this like a like a growth, you know? And you've got these weird dust particles that you can see that like remind me of spores, so maybe it's some kind of infection that saps the color. It blanches the environment. So Ceres brought Jicca to the Vimos hospital, which is close by, and then afterwards she went to her PAX job, and she kept on her S-Pro armband, which I believe is one of the highest positions at Sterlie, besides Retainer and Ferrith, who's kind of like not even in the hierarchy. But it seems like Ceres wants to keep the armband on because it makes her feel special. Like when people see it, they're like, oh shit, that's someone important. It's someone famous. And the Frey is capitalized, which is interesting. That is a good thing to keep in mind. Seems to be more than just an oddity, maybe its own class of thing. Or it's an oddity that's a lot more intense than others. So I looked it up because I always like double check, look things up to make sure I know if there's not any definitions I'm missing. But a frayed is with like a rope at the end of a piece of fabric or rope when it becomes unraveled or worn at the edge. And there's also your nerves or your temper can be frayed, which is like being stressed out. So yeah, being unraveled at the edges, and we have the white blanching at the edges or at the tips of these like weird growths. That feels related. And I will say, frayed seems to be also a medical term that's taken from the rope thing, where like your tissues and tendons and ligaments can become frayed after repetitive stress or injury, or just aging. So that might also be what the fray is referencing. But since it's the fray and it frays things, it seems like it's like the unraveling of stuff. So if you get frayed, you get unraveled and you experience ego death. So maybe it's like a fraying of your brain or your sensorium or your consciousness or something. Because if you look up, maybe I'll throw an image on screen. So yeah, we have like a frayed knot here, where you can see like this is where it's like where all the strings and the strands like kind of go crazy here from stress. And if we compare that to the fray, assuming this is the fray, it doesn't look like that. It's not like there's like strands. Like it's not like the door is becoming strands. It's more like it's like the blanching thing. So that's interesting. Maybe this is the first stage of the fray, and then later on, like if you get frayed, you start to turn this weird goopy, like blanched thing, and then you start to like turn into string. That would be horrifying. Yeah. So someone could be frayed, and then something worse is to be lost, like entirely lost. Which maybe that's the whole thing with the string, or there's no thing with the string. So when Tsurine's like, hey, did anyone get hurt by the fray? Tsurine's like, depends what you mean by hurt. It seems like the fray doesn't hurt you, it kind of just like eats you, I guess, or makes you lost completely. None of the residents within this hall has responded for days. So yeah, it seems like they are like subsumed into the fray. Like, are these people? Are these remnants of people? So a blotch, a fray, like blanching is usually, you know, something on your skin. Like you have blotches on your skin. It's like a patch or a mark. I'm also looking it up. Yeah, there's blotches on leaves. Hold on a second. This feels related. Like when you look up a blanching on leaves, this kind of thing kind of feels like at the edges they're a different color, and then we have at the edges they're a different color. So I guess these are the blotches. Probably not the little dust particles, right? Because I mean, I feel like Ceres is about to get touched by them. Or maybe that is a single blotch, but yeah. It could warp your body horribly. So if a body part is frayed, they're impossible to fix, remove, or replace. You can't even remove it. And people who enter frayed rooms never leave. So, I mean, it seems like if you would go into a room covered in fray, you would be surrounded by fray. You would probably be lost entirely. You would become one with the fray, maybe? Yeah, lost forever. Your mind would likely experience such an influx of scrambled thoughts, memories, and feelings that you'd undergo complete ego death in moments. So, touching fray gives you scrambled thoughts and memories? Like, memories. That feels like some kind of, like, collective conscious. Like, touching the fray, does that connect you to all the other people who have touched the fray, and you get all their feelings, emotions, and memories, which like completely kills your consciousness because it's too much? That reminds me, that feels like the unraveling of a rope. It's like I don't know how to your consciousness unravels because of how much stress and strain is being put on it from getting all these thoughts and memories. If they are actually memories from other people, maybe they're fabricated memories, maybe they're like your entire brain, like everything your brain has thought and could think happens in an instant instead of, over a lifetime where things happen, you remember, you forget, and it's, okay, but then it's like, oh, let's do it all at once, and you just blow up. Or maybe the fray, all this belongs to a single person. Like maybe there was just one girl kind of became the fray or started the fray because of whatever traumatic shit, and then now when you touch the fray, you get connected to her, like her memories, and they're just so much that you die. Like she might be a god, something like life and death. So Jicca had a ... for some reason. I don't know what that was about. Like maybe she's just annoyed that we're taking so long. But it makes me wonder, like, is she thinking? Does she have experience with the fray? Does she know something about the fray? Was Amelia frayed? That's a really interesting. So Tsurine's like, how do you clean it up if you can't touch it? And Tsurine's like, Ceres is like, you can't. It'll go away on its own when it feels like it. Which is like, feels like it? Like, how does this blob have feeling? But apparently it does. Even though I know she's just saying, like, she might be speaking metaphorically, but it feels more than that. And it takes everything frayed with it. So where does it go? Does it just vanish? Like, we don't know? Has it not been witnessed leaving? So there is providential police, which seems to be like Providence, right? Seems like, yeah. So there is a police force, from Sterlie that Jicca writes a, like, doctrine on how they should operate. But these Sterlie police, they slack a lot. They kind of only just intimidate people and they don't do much else. Because Sterlie is just too low on numbers to kind of enforce the police to do their job effectively. So now people all around are hiring packs, which is like basically like bodyguards, to protect an area, like defend apartments and businesses so no one can steal or, fights break out or anything. So Tsurine brings up that what if Sterlie just hired packs, hired their own police officers? And therefore there wouldn't be like a monopoly over it, and there would be competition, right? Like if you're a PAX officer, and the Providence police would have to start doing their job better. I kind of understand what she means. And Jicca's saying that the Sterlie hired police would have too much incentive and too much competition. We can't handle another hardwall incident. That sounds ominous. So it seems like at some point Sterlie hired PAX officers or police or something, and too much competition and something bad happened, whatever the hard wall is. Alright, so Ceres has a biosthetic pair of eyes called arbors, remote body record readers. So yeah, she can read our body record just by looking at us or looking at our body record or something. And it says so people have online body records and they can be privated, so you can private your information, which is interesting. So one of her eyes is a computer, And the other is a scanner and display. So she can probably see literally like a UI display in her eyes. A grotesquely colorful hole melted through your shoe. So that's interesting because the fray seems to blanch. It like saps color. It's like the pale whitening of your skin, right? But this is a grotesquely colorful hole. So I can imagine almost like burnt and like rainbow, almost like a burnt rainbow hole through her shoe. Which like is this something else that isn't the fray? Is this like the fray starts colorful? Like fray seems to do something with color is what I'm getting at. Like it's either it saps all the color and now it seems to like overwhelm with color, which maybe this is like kind of like the whole like, oh, you get a million thoughts in your head and blow up thing. Like the thoughts are color. Like I don't know. So yeah, we are now wearing one of Jicca's shoes, and Jicca's wearing one shoe, and Jicca has some really big shoes, so it's kind of amusing. Well, well, well. Jicca is once again referencing something Yuffie said. We can go find a place where the ceiling is so high you'll feel like you're falling. That's what Yuffie says. And Jicca also can see where we are in the hospital, and she says she never forgets things. This is very sussy. Why does she know about things? Why does she keep referencing things we spoke about with Yuffie yesterday? It's odd. So the halo around Sterlie is so bright that there are roofs and canopies that have been made to basically dim the light coming from above. And the only way to get into Sterlie is basically from going underground, because if you went like at the ground level, the lights are way too bright. So we have a little sweet moment with Jicca where we mention that, you know, we kind of want to get to know Jicca more, and she kind of smiles and agrees. And then we have a very faint, you know, the folly tendrils come in. The wound behind Tsurine's neck stings, but for a moment, squeezing out from her a faint wince. So earlier, we had the tendrils when we left our room. And then we had the tendrils interrupt our call with Leida. And now they're here as we're trying to, you know, as we're having a nice moment with Jicca about getting closer to her. Almost like they don't want us to. It's not like with the whole cell phone where it's like, I'm immediately stopping you. The tendrils can't stop us with this, but they're almost like warning us. That's why it was only 2 tendrils. It was like boom, boom, instead of like the full thing. So back when Jicca was training, I guess, to be a retainer, she would go to witness a lot, which is interesting. We don't hear much about, you know, pre-retainer Jicca. So we have Jicca, who went to, you know, would always eat Pufado in the atrium, and would use that as an excuse to stop and admire the atrium. And Tsurine's like, you don't need an excuse, you can just take a break, girl. Which, that kind of thing comes up multiple times, and it kind of came up earlier. We know Jicca's been stressed out because of that one USB, and the whole talk where she's gonna stop, you know, putting everything on herself. And Tsurine's like, also basically saying, like, you need to take a breather. Or, like, you can take a breather, it's okay. Yeah, and Jicca thinks, like, she has to be a tourist in order to, like, wander and loiter and look around at the pretty sights. She's like, oh, I can't do that, I'm the retainer. I'm not a tourist, but, like, it's just so silly. But it kind of shows how, I guess, stressed Jicca is. Like, yeah, exactly. Can you really not enjoy yourself without an excuse to kick back? You should loosen up on yourself. And then we get one of the best Jicca moments, where her reply to this is fucking eating Pufado and being like, I'm really trying, or some shit like that, but I'm responsible if someone gets hurt. And then she eats her Pufado. Sorry for making you witness me basically just do ooh speak on accident, but there you go. You're welcome. But I know this is a really cute detail that the retainer is like speaking with her mouth full, and it's really cute. Like, the way she's speaking, too, is, like, super cute. Like, she's like, I'm trying. And then she gets the exclamation mark, like, oh, if someone gets hurt. It's, like, so, like, it's just so cute of her out of nowhere. It's very, like, not Jicca. It's vulnerable, I guess, is what I'm saying. So, if dating Jicca, we get to see more of her being, like, not the most incredible person that's ever lived, that would be so cute to see her be kind of like a dork who is speaking like this. I don't know, that'd be cute. But yeah, Jicca seems to feel very responsible and almost guilty of her position that like if someone gets hurt, it's her fault. It's because she loitered around. It's because she was looking at the atrium, you know? She's got to do everything perfectly so people don't get hurt. She's got a lot of weight on top of her. So now, Tsurine's saying, kind of emboldened by the flame of last night, with the whole Yuffie, and Yuffie's like, oh, you know, I will help you more, and the whole thing with the crisis nurse, like Yuffie becoming a crisis nurse for Tsurine. Tsurine's like, oh, you know, I will help you more, and you should let me, you know, because you feel you have the burden of a magical girl, but you're just a normal person. And Jicca is like, oh, you will help me, and you'll do great, which, when Jicca speaks so matter-of-factly, I almost always trust her. Like, when she's like, I never lose the same fight twice, I believe her. When she's like, I don't forget Tsurine, I believe her, and now I believe her too. Why is she just that confident in Tsurine, or is it more so she knows something, that she knows Tsurine will shape up and help out? And then she says, I always believed you would. Which is interesting. Was that from the start? Or did you know Tsurine pre-amnesia? Like, I always believed you would help out me more? I don't know. Or is this just Jicca's fantasy? Jicca saw Tsurine, like, completely obliterated at the mall. And, like, all her guts were out. And she's like, this girl's got some pretty guts. Like, I believe she's gonna fix my life and help me handle the entire world. So... And she's been on that delusion for 2 years. We love her. I'm kidding, obviously, but... so Jicca, we see this later with Thals, but Jicca can easily just lift us up as if we're the weight of a feather. She seems to have some kind of crazy strength. Probably all those biosthetics in her. Is it time for the stairs? Oh god, not time for the stairs. Last time we had stairs, it was not good for Jicca. So this sign over here, which is the credit symbol, is a sign for a credit to credit cards ATM. So a credit, okay, so you have credit and you can convert it into credit cards. So I guess credit's more digital or within the terminals and stuff, but then you can turn them into physical credit cards to use. And credit cards are not like real life credit cards. Credit cards are like bills, but they're made of plastic, if that makes sense. It's not like you have one credit card with a balance on it. No, you have, you know, like a $10 credit card, a $20 credit card, stuff like that. And yeah, again, it's being referenced that all of Tsurine's money is in her savings. She has some kind of savings account, and it's a real, like, issue for her to access that account for whatever reason. So this company here, whoever was in this whole building, you know, this office or whatever, is completely vacant because of a liability was here, like an attack or something happened. And apparently a liability in GA is pretty rare. So we have Certicare. This might be the Certi that was referenced. It's a giant pharma corporation. So Tsurine doesn't trust them over independent compounders. Why did I say it like that? Compounder? Are you serious? I'm sorry. Yeah, so Piamat's a compounder because she, you know, is an independent compounder of pharmacies, right? But this is like a big corp. And it is named after one independent person, which is Tsurine. So yeah, we have the Tsurine that was referenced previously. And she makes all the medicine alone. So she has this whole company, but she's the only one who actually produces the pharmaceuticals. And she can afford really expensive machinery. And she avoids the terminal system, which probably implies her stuff isn't checked by Providence. Or something shady. So yeah, if you are in a non-standard profession, probably one that actually has danger, right? Like what Tsurine does, you can get insurance, and you get this company that manages all this crap for you. It's funny, Tsurine's calling these buildings weird, while to us, this is a rare sight in sanatoria to see such a high roof. So these buildings just end, right? And there's so much space up top, which, you know, we are familiar with on Earth because it's kind of like a city. But to Tsurine, it looks very weird and odd to not have a roof. So this ceiling is covered in daylights, but it's the lowest ceiling in Witness. So there's higher ones, and they have daylights, and they have daylights. It's crazy. It's funny that because animals are kind of this not too like rare thing that people don't know much about, where when Jicca knows what it is, Surine's like, oh, are you into birds? Which is just funny because for us on Earth, where there's a lot of nature and a lot of animals, like, people just know about bird species. Like, if you know about a penguin, I'm not like, oh, you're a bird nerd, aren't you? Like, no. Everyone knows stuff. But in Adna, it's different. So somehow these birds can reach the top of Grand Atrium, the roof of the atrium, and apparently specifically Witness. And yeah, these birds, if you don't know, they fly down and they eat diseases and illnesses out of you, and it's very gruesome. But you end up without a disease and mortally wounded, so you'll have to get surgery. But hey, it's a cure, right? And they like eating serious illnesses, ones that can't be cured, which is interesting that in the world of Adna, there's still incurable diseases, which is horrible. Imagine you got one of these and you're immortal. You'll have to live with this illness forever. And we have the Patience Tarot, represent something bad that brings about something good. The hope that's created within the ugliest of things. So there's our we got some tarot from Jicca. I need to remember that the ugliest parts of being the retainer result in good for their future. So yeah, Jicca thinks about this a lot, it seems, you know, having to do bad things or ugly things for the better of everyone. She puts on a lot of burden for herself. And yeah, the future of everyone's lives, what people want to be, if they want to own a business, if they want, you know, to create art or, you know, achieve some kind of goal, they all rely on Sterlie being responsible. Like, if Sterlie cannot do its job, the world is going to be very difficult and dangerous. And Jicca thinks about all of this, all these people, every time she comes in the work and sees the statue. Yeah, and Jicca doesn't enjoy being mean or doing ugly things. Imagine killing people or, you know, this thing that she does to Tsurine later in the disc. But she can't, but she knows that doing nothing can result in horror that's worse. So it's a really tricky situation. And yeah, Jicca has sacrificed a lot of things and she's extremely stressed. But when she goes through Sanatoria and people recognize her and they smile at her, they give her gifts and tell her how Sterlie's helped them, it, you know, shows her that what she's doing has a positive reason. And when Tsurine's like, oh, you think so? Like, Jicca's like, I have to. Like, Jicca has to think this way, or else, like, she wouldn't be able to operate, right? Because she's done so much. Like, if she didn't have this kind of, I guess, coping, if you want to look at it that way, that everything she does has a good reason, then it would kind of crush her. So Tsurine looks at the bird and she's like, oh, that's a sick bird. Smile. You click, she's smiling. And then you click again and her smile drops. And then you click again and now she's like, wait, but something's familiar about the bird. I can't quite place it. So then we click again, and Tsurine, her eyes, in a kind of shocked expression, she's like, white. And she doesn't even understand. Like, she's like trying to process why she just said that. And she knows that a calodine is white. Which is interesting, because this is an animal that might not even exist. The statue isn't white, it's like green. So, has Tsurine heard about a calodine or potentially seen a calodine before? Of course, we can blow a kiss to the mother, which is the best option in all of Adna. We can flirt with this mom, this random mom, and she smiles with a hand on her cheek, and Jicca's like, I can't take you anywhere. Jicca's like jealous. Okay, I'm telling you right now. She's like, Tsurine, that's a mother. Okay, you can't do that to a mother. And Jicca's like, hell yeah, she is. Oh, best girl, Tsurine. Tsurine is a MILF enjoyer. It's a light show venue that collapsed. And in the drink, which I have to assume is in Natatoria, you can see in the drink this collapsed light show. Its lights still shine out when no one's around. Spooky. How the hell did it collapse? Was it a natural environmental thing? Was it a liability or something? So, on Promise Day, there is in Saline Wake in Natatoria, there is going to be a light show on some light show thingy, I'm not sure. So maybe that's where we will go in the Promise Me disc, and we know it's called Promise Me and takes place on Promise Day. We have an SDA compliant ramp here. I forget exactly what this is referencing. It's something in the real world, but the S is sterlie. I think it's like a disability appliance. Basically, it means like it's a ramp, so people in wheelchairs and who can't get upstairs can go up. But the S implied sterlie, I think. So this is like a sterlie mandated thing that, you know, to have ramps in major atriums, I guess. Therefore, people who need them can go up them, which is nice. Shout out Jicca for putting that into place, I assume. If only the escalators she fell down were SDA compliant, maybe she wouldn't have gotten totally toasted. That's pretty horrible. Alright, my dear viewer, make sure your eyes are open because we are about to witness Sterlie Tower. Boom! And we can't even see it because it's so large. It takes up the entire horizon, peripheral. Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine this, but to me, so what it seems like is this is the highest vantage point you can see Sterlie. Most of it is underground. And you cannot, like, when you're at the base of Sterlie, so around Sterlie Tower, like Witness where we just were, we couldn't see this because when we look up, there is a roof, right? There's that roof with the daylights. There's roofs above roofs. So we cannot, like, look up at Sterlie Tower. You would have to be above this kind of ground level, right? Like above that roof, which is, I believe where we are now there is no roof covering the ground level, essentially. Like we can see Sterlie Tower without having to be obstructed by a roof. And when we finally do, it is huge. Like we cannot see any curve on it. We cannot see the edge or anything. It is just massive. And we can't look over there because we just can't get to a location where we can actually see all around it. It's hard to think about, but yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, if we look, sorry to pull you away from the crazy music, but over here you can look. Sterlie Tower seems to be this massive circle in the middle of Grand Atrium, right? And when we see Sterlie Tower, there's no curvature. So we can't, like, we don't know how small we are. Like, this little circle seems to be Smile Atrium, which is pretty big. So, yeah, the map, like, we are very small on the map, it seems. So, yeah, Sterlie is massive, and it seems like there's no real area where we can actually look up at Sterlie. It is just always kind of like a huge building that we just can't get a look at. Yeah, so we're so close to Sterlie, we can't even get a scope on this thing. And I imagine if you look up right now, it's just going to be a wall, right? And you're like, okay, well, just look to the left, right? You're going to see the edge of the wall. But it just keeps going until, like, the edge of your vision, if that makes sense. Or maybe there is some buildings in the way, or fog, or clouds, I think. I'm not sure. But, yeah, Sterlie's massive. Yeah, it looks like a giant wall, exactly. And because there, okay, so all this stuff is, I'm being particular about all this because the video that Aradia made brought up a lot of stuff about sterlie that I'm curious about, and I'm trying to figure out answers as we go. So I'm trying to get a read on like how sterlie actually looks and works, because that might be important. That might be important to the lore. So yeah, sterlie is this massive thing, and then there's a halo at the top, and the halo makes it impossible to see the top. So if you look up where, you know, the top of the tower should be, you don't see the roof, you don't see the tower, you see just white. Like, if it's like the sun was at top, like you know when you look at the sun and you fucking get blind, like that's probably what happened. Or like you just can't see anything because it's so bright. So yeah, so Tsurine can hardly look up because of the light. Like, not even look near the top. Like, she can hardly kind of look up because the light is so bright. So yeah, there's no location where you can see Sterlie Tower, and that's what's special about it to Jicca. Like, this location is the only location we can actually see this much of Sterlie. Everywhere else, it's less and less. Because, like, when we go, like, if you go all the way close up to Sterlie, what you're probably going to see is, like, hold on. You're probably just going to see, like, an entrance to a building here, kind of, and then, like, to the left, there's, like, a million more buildings, and to the right, there's a million more buildings, because, like, it's not just, like, one thing. It's, like, a huge kind of, like, blocky buildings on buildings and shit kind of thing, if that makes any sense at all. So the tower is beyond our eyes, which is interesting that Jicca is saying this. I wonder if someone has an ability that maybe allows them to see past light, or the light won't affect them. Maybe they can see the top of the tower. Maybe Jicca can. Maybe that's what's going on with her eyes. I don't know. But yeah. So, and when the daylights of the halo turn off, they are now void. They are darkness, which, you know, and it swallows the rest of the tower in darkness, which doesn't seem to make sense, like, physically, which makes me think, like, there's something going on here with light. Jicca mentions they're beyond our eyes. There's this incredible brightness that we can't see past, and an incredible darkness that we can't see past. So something's going on here that's a little, you know, supernatural. And so that's just the halo, but then the halo has a kind of Gaussian blur around it, like an aura around it that emanates like sun rays or like rays and shit. And that that goes away, the kind of peripheral light around the halo. So you won't be able to see through the halo at night, but you will be able to see like the more of the tower that isn't blocked by the radius peripheral light. So Jicca says she'll come with us to see the tower at night. I wonder how that's going to happen. We don't see it in D1. I don't know when we will. If we do, we can see it in the dream. Maybe that's what Jicca means. I feel like Jicca can kind of like see through us to an extent, or know where we are. She has this weird like eye stuff going on, so maybe she will be there with us, but not actually. And she promises. So she promises with us, and then she comes over and looks at us and locks eyes for what seems like forever. And then she just looks away. And that was all. So what was that? Was she like thinking with us so she can like see it later? Unless she trying, like, I feel like she can, like, when she looks at us, she can like get into her head or something, or see through us, or like, I don't know what's going on, but you know what I mean? Like, it feels like something happens when she stares at us that she receives on her end, but we don't. it seems like Amelia was binned or something. Like something happened to her. Yeah, there's a mare query, so she must have been binned, but I wonder if she went missing? Like, I'm really curious, the story. And yeah, so this was years ago, or it's been many years, don't know how many it's been, but yeah, Amelia was very much like Tsurine. Yeah, all this Amelia girl, she only really cared about peace and was very, very involved with Jicca and Jicca's emotional health. So probably was a really good pairing with Jicca. Jicca said she enjoys sightseeing. What a line. What an interesting line. Yeah, you would, wouldn't you, Mrs. like eye girl? I have eye powers or some shit. So yeah, Jika. So as retainer, you have to take an oath to basically probably follow Providence, right? This gets mentioned earlier. It got mentioned, and on that day, that night, she got a dream, and I believe she says she thinks Providence wanted her to see it. So I wonder if Providence can influence dreams, because that could be very good to know because of the dream we just had. But yeah, on that day, she took oath. When she went to bed, she had a dream, and she saw Sterlie Tower in full, which is not really possible. Maybe someday I can find a way to show you. That's interesting, Chica, because we do see it on a certain route. Alrighty, so there is a massive ring around Sterlie Tower that's held up by countless beams of immense size. So the halo itself swallows up light, but its corona shines so brightly that you can't look directly up at it during the day. So it's interesting that the word corona has an anatomical definition of a part of the body resembling or likened to a crown. So it's like the crown of Sterlie Tower. It has a crown that shines so brightly that you can't look at it during the day. Very interesting. And the halo is so high up that you cannot look over it. There is no vantage point that can look over the halo. It's just so high in the sky. So yeah, there's no angle or point where you can see over the top of the halo. So even if you were to go really far away and look like diagonally up, you wouldn't be able to see past the halo because it's so large and because there's like roofs above you and stuff. So yeah, according to the records, there was a time where the halo like sucked in light. And all of Grand Atrium was bathed in darkness. And instead of all the lights, it was darkness. Like there was no lights up top on the roof. And Grand Atrium scared people. They called it Leirch Tahid, or the Dark Tower in New Font. Now, is Leirch Tahid Old Font or Liebercod? We're not sure. Maybe Liebercod, since the tower seems to be wrapped up in Liebercod stuff. And the tower, well, probably Old Font, because I assume people spoke Old Font back then. And then, for some reason, the tower just lit up. The halo inverted. And instead of sucking in light, it kind of expelled light. So I wonder if it's a natural thing, where maybe after, an amount of time, the tower will turn off again, and it will suck in light instead of producing it. Maybe that's the whole thing about this is how the world ended, and this is how it will end again, or whatever. But by the time Retainer Ruja made the first modern Sterlie records, the tower was bright. So maybe the tower is Providence and stuff? Like, Providence was dormant until humanity created society, because treating the modern sterlie records is basically like, seems like a point in history when it went from uncivilized to civilized society, right? And Providence takes care of society, with sterlie being kind of like the governing force, and Providence taking care of insurance and all this other crap. But, so yeah, 224 years ago, and it is the year 268, so I believe that's the 44th year, of course, is when all this happened. So for 44 years in the New Age, Grand Atrium was just complete darkness. So yeah, Fontaine in Fecundali has, so the inside of sterlie, which we will see when we enter, has architecture similar to Fontaine, Fecundali. Same unique materials and everything, which is the patina, I believe. I mentioned this with schizotism when we went over it, but yeah, we've got the pearlescent glimmer here that's bleeding everywhere because of schizotism, but it's supposed to only be on the tower. So this was before Ruja made Sanatoria what it is, so probably pre-year 44, people did not have credit, I imagine. The whole terminal, I'm theorizing now that Providence did not exist until the 44th year. Like, Providence did not take care of money and all this crap, where it was just people trading cheap credit cards they made out of patina scrapped off of sterlie. So yeah, people scraped the patina off of sterlie, made credit cards out of it. And at the sub-atrium levels of sterlie, you get to see a little more into the tower. You see matte sand green instead of the patina at the top. And this verdigris is the matte sand green metal, which is very heavy and inert and strong. So yeah, Ruja made a law that made it illegal for whatever reason that you can't damage the tower. I wonder if Providence wanted that. I wonder if there was something wrong with it. Maybe for the tower to regenerate, it had to eat something, like there was some kind of cause and effect. Yes, sterlie established Providence-regulated digital credit on cards, so people can carry less metal credit cards. So, yeah, now that we have the credit cards that are like physical and digital, because of Providence handles the digital part. So it is possible Providence existed before year 44, but right now I'm thinking that when Ruja came into the tower lit up and Providence started to really interact with society. Credit cards can only be used by rightful owners verified by Providence. So yeah, since year 44, now Providence is checking everyone's credit cards and verifying them, making sure it's the correct owner. And of course, there's the Finders Keepers Law, which Tsurine knows because she's a hoarder. I'm only teasing Tsurine. So yes, this is... I kind of forgot this was in the game. So yeah, people reverse engineered natural medical tech. So like I said before many times, in the clinic you can find just natural like IVs, surgeries, all this medical technology you can find in a hospital. And people took them and reverse engineered them into other technology, which is like electronics and biosthetics. Probably the U-phone is one of them. And yeah, so the conductive metal, patina is valuable in that. Maybe... So patina seems like it's based off of copper, right? If you don't know what patina is, if you look it up, patina is a effect that copper has when copper rusts and it turns green from the bronze to green. That is called patina. And I believe, yeah, copper is conductive and used in electronics. That's why there's copper wires. So people found out that, hey, we shouldn't be using copper for money. We should use it for electronics, because that's what it's good for. And yes, the tower lives. Of course it does. All the layers of patina that were scraped off by, the people they will grow back. So they haven't grown back yet. That's why we can see the sand green, but they will grow back. So the tower will last forever if not intentionally dismantled, which I don't know how that's even possible. And yeah, Jicca had to study all this to become a candidate. Many people do this, research to be a retainer candidate, but only one person gets chosen. And yeah, Jicca's story is a sterlie secret, which seems like, other retainers do have stories, but Jicca seems to be very secretive, for whatever reason. Only the closest people to me know. Someday you will too, so we will get to know Jicca's story. I'm excited. And she really wants to tell us for whatever reason. So before Jicca closes her eyes, you notice the halo's reflection within her eyes. So the halo is reflecting off of Jicca. You're not supposed to be able to see the halo, right? I think I'm understanding, like, we can't see the halo because it's so bright. Tsurine can't even look up. She's like, I can't even look up. But Jicca seems to be able to see the halo. And now we get to see the halo only off of her reflection, right? Because it's not saying, if it was a normal person, it would just be like light. Her eye was just fucking blind. Like, you would see light reflecting off her eye. But this is like the actual shape of the halos is visible, I believe, from Jicca's eyes. Meaning Jicca can look up enough to see the halo, which means that, yeah, it seems like Jicca does have some kind of ability in her eyes that can bypass this blinding light of the tower. I believe that's what this is saying, and that's kind of cool. I never realized that. It's a very secret, sneaky little dialogue here. Unless I could be wrong, it could be like, just a shine of the halo, but... And yes, so now her eyes are closed. I want you to know, someday... But yeah, it seems like it feels like particular things happen when Jicca closes her eyes, when she looks at us. Like, it's deliberate when she does. And I don't know what's happening, but maybe it's like she can like change modes, so she can see through us, she can see other things. I don't know. It's weird. But I believe that is the end of this long episode, unless I cut it in half. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff ending on a little bang there. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time in Sterlie Tower. We're gonna get very familiar with all the D1 characters. And yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.